Hello and welcome to the Financial Bunny TV. My name is Nicolette Mashile. I am also known as the Financial Bunny. Today we're going to be discussing the big debate in the market, the RA versus the TFSA, and which one should you be considering. Now, before I get into this video, please do remember that none of my videos constitute as financial advice. If you are looking for financial advice, please do speak to somebody who is certified and registered with the FSCA. Let's get into today's video and talk about this thing called the RA versus the TFSA. And I think that the best way for you to be able to kind of get a consideration of which one you should be looking at, because I don't think it should even be a big debate of which product is the most suitable for you. Look, suitability is very important, but you do need to understand the facts so that you can have an understanding of what these products actually are. And when you are having a conversation with your financial planner, you're having an informed conversation. So we'll start off with the RA. What is the RA? The RA is short for Retirement Annuity. Now, the RA is governed under the Pensions Act. What does this mean? It means that the RA is a retirement fund. In other words, it has to follow Pension Act rules as all of the other funds. So somebody like me who's self-employed will most probably have a retirement annuity or contribute towards a retirement annuity because those are the options that I've got. If I was employed, my employer might have what is called an employer-sponsored pension fund or employer-sponsored provident fund or, retirement fund. So that's kind of how the difference is. But it does not mean that if you are employed and you're contributing towards a pension fund that is sponsored by your employer, you also can't have an RA. You can. But I'm just giving you the clear distinction of what is something that would sit under your employer or in partnership with your employer versus a self-employed person like me. If I'm looking to invest for retirement purposes, this would be a vehicle that I could potentially consider, right? So under the Pension Act, that also means that it is regulated under Regulation 28. Now, what is Regulation 28? It's basically a law that prescribes how pension funds can invest. So in other words, what type of exposure they're allowed to give themselves. So there is quite limited offshore exposure. I think the last time I had a conversation, it was around 45%. And then of course, also, it is also equity exposure. So if you think about it logically, think about what the goal of a retirement fund is. The goal of a retirement fund is to make sure that you've got retirement provision, money in retirement. So we can't go aggressive on a retirement fund, right? We have to take a very balanced approach in terms of how we are investing your retirement funds. That's why Regulation 28 essentially is there. So there's a specific way in which your fund manager will invest your funds, and most of it, or rather all of it actually, is regulated under Regulation 28. So those are the two most important things that we need to understand about a retirement annuity. Another one probably that I need to add is the fact that because it's a retirement fund, it means that you can only access the money when you hit retirement. So please stop this thing of saying, I want my money from a retirement annuity. No, guys, you can only access your money when it is retirement time. So from age 55, that's when you're allowed to access your money. The other thing we also need to add is the fact that because it's a retirement fund, it is also subject to the two-part retirement system. In other words, your money, when you're contributing it towards an RA, gets split into two parts. One third of it will go into the savings part, and then the other 2/3 are going to go into your retirement part. Yes, when you do get to retirement, there's a portion, 550,000 Rand, or the first 550,000 Rand of your retirement money is tax-free. So you're allowed to withdraw it tax-free. So that is the retirement annuity. It's an absolutely fantastic product. And it's who the service provider is doesn't matter at this point. What we're trying to get a sense of is how does it fit into the bigger picture, right? On the other hand, you've got the mighty TFSA. Again, another fantastic product, right? The TFSA is not necessarily actually a product. It's actually a construct of the income tax under Section 12T, right? So basically, it is a wrapper. You are allowed to wrap certain financial products inside your TFSA. Now, let's talk about what you cannot wrap, because I think what you can wrap is a little easy. Comes down to collective schemes. So unit trusts, ETFs, money market accounts, those types of mutual funds. You can't wrap like privately owned property. You can't wrap like very aggressive offshore schemes that are not necessarily collective schemes. So for instance, you can wrap the S&P 500. You can wrap the Satrix Top 40. You can wrap a balanced fund from Coronation. You can wrap a balanced fund from Net Group, right? So you can wrap anything. As long as it's under the Collective Schemes Act, you can wrap it in your TFSA. But here's where the caveat sits. The TFSA has limits. The limits are 46,000 Rand, thank you to the budget speech and the adjustments that were made, 46,000 Rand per annum. Per tax year, 46,000 Rand, so that's around about 3,833 per month, right? Easy peasy, we got this. We've been on this journey for long enough for us to be able to do this, right? And then 500,000 Rand lifetime limit. Hopefully that will get adjusted at some point, right? So that's the TFSA. If you go above that, you are going to be charged a penalty of 40% flat rate tax. That's how much SARS is going to charge you. They're not playing. But remember, they only charge you on the other side of when you go above that 46,000 per year or the 500,000 Rand limit. Those are kind of the rules of the TFSA. You are able to access it whenever you want to. It is not advisable because that is not what the TFSA is actually built for. So you using it as an emergency fund, we're not doing that here anymore. I don't even want to discuss it because it's something that we are not doing, right? So you're not using it. You are keeping that money in there for the long-term growth. And that actually brings me to my next point. If you think about the two products, let's just call them products for the sake of calling them products, right? That we've just spoken about. The RA is helping you save the most money for your retirement years. The TFSA is basically helping you with the tax drag over long-term growth. That's kind of how you need to be looking at it, right? Now, both of these two are going to be contributed post-tax money. What do I mean? In South Africa, generally, if you are contributing to an employer-sponsored fund, your employer will contribute your portion, their portion into your retirement fund. They will then do your payee calculation, your pay as you earn calculation, and the money that hits your bank account, which is post-tax money, that's the money that you are able to use. Then what usually happens is that individuals will then use that money to contribute to their RA, to contribute to their TFSA. So both of them are contributed using post-tax money. There is a way for you to be able to go to your employer in HR or payroll and have a conversation about them, telling them that you've got an RA and they need to help you factor it into your actual payee. But in general, in many cases, people don't do that, right? So it sits after your post-tax money, right? But here's where it gets a little bit exciting. When it comes to the RA, because it's a retirement fund, it is tax deductible. So in other words, when you are doing your tax calculation, you can take whatever you're contributing to the RA and that can be calculated or factored in as a tax deduction. So remember, in a previous video, I spoke about what actually encompasses your tax, the money that is liable for tax, right? Before we can calculate what the actual liability is, we need to know which of your income is due for tax. So we start off with that. We take all of your incomes, we put them at the top. And then what we do is we factor in all expenses that you can deduct, and then we factor in the legal deductions. And the 27.5% on retirement is tax deductible. It's 27.5% or up to 430,000 now. Thank you, budget speech. Thank you for the adjustments, right? So it becomes a tax deductible. In other words, it reduces the income that we're going to use to calculate your tax liability. Now, what generally happens is that because HR didn't know or payroll didn't know that you're contributing to an RA, when they pay tax to the taxman, they pay on the basis of you only contributing towards your sponsored pension fund with the employer, and that is about it. So all the money that hits your bank account, that's where the tax then gets affected, right? But in reality, because you're contributing to a tax deductible vehicle, that tax deduction will happen when you now file for your taxes. And that is the magic. You have to actually file. Don't run away from filing a tax return, because then you're not going to see the tax deduction if you don't do it. Now, that tax deduction comes in a benefit, and the benefit can be two ways. The first one is that you get a refund because you've been overpaying tax through your payee, because remember, as I said, payee pays based on what hits your bank account, right? The second one could be that it just reduces your tax liability. But again, because it reduces your tax liability, if you are paying tax correctly, you most probably are paying more. So then you will get a refund, right? It's not always guaranteed. Please, I don't want SARS coming to you and saying, you told people that they are going to get tax refunds. It's not always guaranteed. It's if you do things correctly. Because what happens is that some of us, me included, have rental properties with rental income, and then we don't account for that correctly on our tax returns, and SARS is like, hey bo, kanjani. Or some of us have withdrawn now from the two-pot retirement savings component, and remember, that money becomes part of your total income, so it's becoming liable for tax. But now, employer doesn't know that, so employer has charged you the correct payee, so it means that you actually owe SARS now because your income has gone up, right? As I said, we'll discuss that on another video. So essentially, that is now the retirement annuity. What you do with that benefit, so when you do get the cash windfall, as we call it in South Africa, when it's a tax refund, it's not free money. It's not free money. You gotta use that money well. Your tax refund is not free money. It's also not extra money. I know we've got a mental accounting bias where we think that any money that comes from what we don't think is effort feels like it's free money. It's not free money. It was actually your money to begin with. SARS is just giving it back to you. What you then need to consider is whether or not you're going to make that money become useful. So you would then take that money and invest it into what we call discretionary investing, which is exactly where the TFSA sits. A TFSA is a discretionary investment fund that you choose on your own. So what a lot of people try to do is that they invest into their RA, get the tax deductible, get the refund, take the refund, and then invest it into their TFSA. Make sense? But this obviously works if you are in the higher tax brackets. So think about it this way. Again, this example I'm going to use is for illustrative purposes. If you contribute 1,000 Rand into the RA, and then you do a tax calculation or you file your return, you're probably going to get, if you are in the tax bracket of 31%, you're probably going to get 310 back. Now, it's not, you didn't create more money. It's not a new 310. So it's not that you're going to contribute 1,310. No, it's that from the 1,000, SARS gives you back 310 because you've got a tax deductible on that amount, right? That you've contributed towards your retirement annuity. You then take that 310 and you would contribute it into your TFSA. So the higher the tax bracket, the more the tax deductible is going to be, right? So the more money you're actually going to receive back. That's kind of how you can look at it. But now, if you are investing in the TFSA, here is where it can get exciting. The great thing about a TFSA is that because it's not under Regulation 28, it means that you can essentially invest in any collective scheme that you choose. So you can go aggressive if you've got the risk appetite for it. You can basically use your TFSA for growth. So you can go as aggressive as you want. You can go offshore if you want to. You know, the only rule that is there is that the product provider needs to be a South African company. But if the product provider gives you access to an offshore fund, then you should be okay, right? So that's essentially how you need to be looking at it, is that you want the TFSA to get as much return as possible. Because remember, the TFSA, as long as you have made a return, a dividend, capital appreciation, asset appreciation, whatever type of return you're getting on it, it is going to be tax-free. So let's bring them together and say, and I say this because a lot of content creators or financial planners will often say, if you are young, you probably should be focusing on the TFSA because that's where you can maximize your return. Yeah, but let's not forget the TFSA has a limit of 46,000 Rand. Let's not forget, it's got a limit of 46,000 Rand. You must probably have more than 46,000 Rand a year to invest in a discretionary fund, right? So that's why it works together. Are there other investments that you can consider? Absolutely. But today the conversation is TFSA versus RA, right? So how can you bring them together? And I heard this now from my mentor who's a CFP. So Remember, I'm on the journey to be a CFP. I have to keep saying it, guys, because, when I am a CFP, I'm going to introduce myself as hello and welcome to the Financial Bunny TV. My name is Nicolette CFP Mashile. So I gotta keep reminding you guys. So, my CFP mentor says, you can use them in this manner, right? Remember, so let's take it a couple of steps back. People will then say something like, yeah, but the RA, you are only deferring the tax. Eventually, you're going to pay tax, right? When they want to now have the TFSA win this fight. They're like, yeah, but with the RA, eventually you're going to pay tax. Yes, you're going to pay tax, but let's be realistic about it. Your tax marginal rate right now could be 31%. I mean, there are people who are in the 40s. We got some wealthy people in this country, they're in the 40s. But come on. First 550,000 tax-free, and then you go into retirement years, and then there's a new tax table in retirement. Doesn't look the same as the current one. You're not paying 40-something% now. You are working with the new tax tables, the retirement tax tables. So your tax is significantly lowered, right? But you can even be cleverer. I don't know if that's an English word, but you can be smarter about it, right? And this is where my CFP mentor was like, what you do is you get as just by the limit of how much you can draw as an annuity. I remember your 2/3 that you get in retirement, you've got to buy an annuity in South Africa. It's a law. You can buy a life annuity or you can buy a living annuity. It depends on you. And we can do a conversation about the difference between life and a living annuity later on, right? So you get to where you're not going to pay tax. So let's say, and for example, again, illustrative purposes, I'm not saying that this is what it's going to look like. If you need, for instance, and I know the numbers I'm about to use now, people are going to be like, who needs 10,000 Rand in retirement? Relax. It's just for illustrative purposes. Let's say you need to withdraw 10,000 Rand. You withdraw 10,000 Rand from your annuity, and then what you do is, if you need, let's say you need 20,000 Rand. You do 10,000 from your living annuity. Well, let me not say living annuity because it could be a life annuity also. You take 10,000 from the annuity, right? That money is normally supposed to be subject to tax. But if you go just below the tax threshold, you are in the clear. And then to get 20, you balance it out with a withdrawal from your TFSA. Remember, the TFSA is tax-free. So you can live in retirement, usapateli tax. You don't pay any tax. You get it? You get it? Yeah, I know you guys get it. That's literally the hack. It's the RA hack that you are able to do using both the RA and the TFSA. You are able to do something like that, and your financial planner will be able to assist you in making sure that your personal circumstances are able to do this, because it's not for everyone. And it's important for us to make it clear that suitability is a very big part when it comes to how you're going to be managing your finances. Suitability is the goal and the key of how you are going to design your financial matters, because something needs to be suitable for your needs. But essentially, to summarize this entire video, at the end of the day, it is about understanding your own personal circumstances, understanding what an RA is, what a TFSA is, and how you can work with both of them or either one of them to make sure that you are achieving the goals that you are trying to achieve. At the end of the day, what is the end goal for you? Are you looking to make sure that you are maximizing your savings for retirement? Or are you looking to ensure that you manage the tax drag when it comes to long-term growth? Or are you looking for both and then finding them at the sweet spot between having the RA and, of course, the TFSA? I'm going to close it there. We'll talk a little bit about, in the next video, the difference between an RA where you're paying 3% because it's on a life license versus an RA where you're paying 1% because it's on a LISP license. And that makes a world of a difference. And a lot of, the people that I've had a conversation with, we have managed to get them to understand how much fees can actually erode the returns that you are making on some of the funds if you are not aware of how much you are paying in fees. As I said, I'm going to leave it here. Please remember that none of our videos constitute as financial advice. If you are, however, looking for financial advice, please do speak to somebody who is certified and registered on the rep register with the FSCA. I'll see you guys on the next one.